Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 1103. 1103. This was called Too Salesy. You think you're too salesy and then you don't make any money. Well, we're going to give you a great method to get out of feeling too salesy where you can still make a lot of money. How about that? All right, hope you didn't miss episode 1102. That was instant writing that sounds like you. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it in that episode. Anytime you want to get to a back episode, you go to screwthecommute.com/ then the episode number. Instant writing that sounds like you was a 1102. Screwthecommute.com/ 1102. All right, pick up a copy of our automation ebook at screwthecommute.com/ automate free. 3.0 is the latest, but I have to be working on a new one because short keys that I've been promoting like crazy for, I don't know, 100 years has now discontinued, but turned into like a browser extension. So I'll have to make some updates on that. But if you see shortkeys.com, just look for browser extensions. All right, and let's see what else. Check out my mentor program at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com and my school at imtcva.org, certified to operate by Chev. All right, let's talk about the fear of appearing too salesy. I understand this, and I also understand how this can hurt your financial success. And many people don't want to offend their colleagues, and many folks think they will offend their clients, and many think no one will buy from me if I'm too pushy or too salesy. Well, you know what? I agree with all of this that it could happen. It could be you offend your colleagues. It could be you offend your clients, and it could be that nobody's going to buy from you. The chances of that happening? Well, the chances of it happening with the part about nobody buying from you are slim. People will buy from you. Now, offending your colleagues and your clients, I don't know. Too bad. Who cares? Now, as long as your clients are taken care of and you do what you promise, they probably don't care either because they already invested in you. But your colleagues who are broke and they're going to commiserate with you and rag on people that are successful in your field financially. Well, who cares? They're broke. You don't want to be broke just to look good to your colleagues that are broke. All right. We don't care. They might be okay too. They might have somehow reached financial success calmly, and who knows what's going on behind the scenes with them. They might be spoon, golden spoon or silver spoon in the mouth kids that were rich already. I got a friend who was rich already, been threatening to write a book for 40 years, but just wouldn't do it because afraid of what people would think of him. He had plenty of money. He has a wife that's got a gigantic pension from some big shit, fake pharmaceutical company, so he can afford to rag on other people and sit back and act like he's better than everybody. Well, that's a rare thing there. So you don't have to be that way. You don't have to be pushy, and you don't have to be salesy to really make a great financial future for yourself. I'm going to give you the method here in a minute, but I'll tell you some stories. I'm sure there's loads of doctors around the world ragging on this guy. I'm not going to name names on these people, but he's making $43 million a year because he puts his face out there in social media and everybody wants him, and he comes up with a product line and all this. I don't know if the products are any good or not, but nobody complains about them, so $43 million a year. And there's another guy, from all intent and purposes, he's like a fake chiropractor calling himself a doctor, and his own family thinks he's the biggest jerk on earth, but he's a great researcher. And then he comes across as very knowledgeable And I don't know if anybody knows he's not a real doctor. I'm not ragging on chiropractors, although a lot of them couldn't be doctors. That's why they're chiropractors, and that's pretty much for sure. But anyway, he makes a fortune, and his family thinks he's a jerk, but he, researches and puts out stuff and came up with a product line and the whole bit, right? So then he doesn't appear to care if anybody thinks he's a jerk, okay? But he makes a fortune financially. Now, you don't have to be that way. I've got a method I'm going to tell you about that I've used for years, and it's the opposite of pushy sales. Nobody on this earth would say I'm pushy, especially all the audiences I've been in front of, 3,000 of them in all these years, and I don't know how many years now, that they would never say, because compared to other speakers, they're really pushy. So there's pushy to the so arrogant and pushy and act like they're better than everybody, and you got to buy now because I'm important and I'm getting on a plane, so you buy right now. All that crap. I sit back and take all the money because I'm opposite of that. I do a legitimate negative sell. I don't care if you buy or not. I do. I want you to buy because I know I can help you, but if you don't, it's not going to affect my lifestyle one way or the other. I'm already, past, I could have quit doing this 25 years ago and still been just fine. So if you buy or not, it doesn't make any difference to me. However, I know a lot of you starting out are not in that position where you have a lot of money coming in. So I'm going to show you, and what I do is I show my audiences the consequences of not knowing what I know or having what I have. And so I'll give you an example of how I might do that. And I remember this one vividly because this poor lady got really ripped off. But she's sitting in my audience, and one of my crazy seminars called Butt Camp, because I make so much money sitting on my rear end. Okay, that's the longest running internet and digital marketing seminar ever. She's sitting in front, and I had found out that she had spent $80,000 on her website with not one visitor and one sale. And she doesn't want me to put her name out there. I can't even remember it now. It's been a while. So I say, especially in other audiences where she isn't, I might say, hey, there was a lady. I would point somebody out in the audience, sitting right where you're sitting, ma'am, right there. And I'd say, she spent $80,000. I'd really emphasize $80,000 on her website with no visitors and one sales. Those web people took her for a ride. And I say, I'd never let that happen to you. All right. That isn't really a negative sell, but it's something that I'm going to take care of you. And these other people screwed you. So that's one example. But on the speaker system, it's a negative sell means I don't care that if you buy or not. All right. You're going to get screwed if you do, if you don't. But I really just emphasize on the consequences to you. So, for instance, my speaker system, the Wake 'em Up Video Professional Speaking System, is the longest running best-selling ever on the internet professional speaking information. And so I would say things like, it took me 1,500 speakers, 1,500 presentations before I learned this. And I was talking about the seating method that gets you 3 times more participation, engagement, laughter, and all that. So who wants to suffer 1,500 bombs before they figure this out, right? And so those kinds of things. It took me 40 times to tell this story in public before I got it right. I can help you so that you tell it right the first time, that kind of stuff. So there's consequences of not knowing what I know or having what I have. But it wasn't pushy at all. It was like, oh man, I don't want to bomb 40 times with that story, and I don't want to have to do 1,500 speeches before I get people really rocking and rolling in the audience, and that's what they're thinking, and then they buy the things. Now we're selling 30 of those a month at $1,200, for many, many years until we had to switch it to DVD, and then we switched it to online. All right. This is a method, is show them consequences of not knowing what you know, and also get better at making them laugh. You know, my Wake 'em Up business presentation books at screwthecommute.com/wake book will teach you how to do that, because I mean, I have people pulling their credit, laughing like crazy as they're pulling their credit cards out. Okay, so this an entertainment value along with great content and a realization of people in the audience that they need what you have so that they don't suffer those consequences. You put that all together, man, you can make a fantastic career without looking too salesy. And it's not just speaking. It's anytime you're doing sales presentations or you're selling something. You can just make fantastic amounts of money without looking pushy. And a lot of these pushy people, you don't see it, but they might appear to sell more than you, but then they get lots of chargebacks to their credit card when people see that this is crap, and then they don't come through with what they promised, and you know, all that. So I get none of that. I can't remember how to do a refund pretty much. Okay. Because I don't oversell things. I actually undersell so that they feel like they got more than they bargained for. And I come through and take care of customers. See? So I wrote a whole book on the 1-sentence business plan on how you create quality products that people want at a reasonable price, and you service the customer after the sale. People spend $1 million coming up with a business plan in these big companies, and if they would just do what I just said, took me a 60-page book to tell you how to do it, but it's a 1-sentence business plan. So you don't have to be too salesy, but quit worrying about what your broke colleagues think and worry about your financial future for you and your family. That's what's important. And you still don't have to look bad to do it. All right, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Check my mentor program at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. See how pushy that was? I said, oh, go ahead and check it out if you want to. I didn't say, if you don't buy this program, I'm coming to your house and beating your door down. And, of course, my school at imtcva.org, the only licensed, dedicated internet and digital marketing school in the country, probably the world. And here we go. Watch what I just do here. And it'll save you a couple $100,000 sending your kid or yourself to a 4-year indoctrination camp where they learn how to protest, and then they get out and compete for jobs at Starbucks. All right. So if you think that's pushy, well, go ahead and spend the $200,000 and then let me know how it worked out. So there you go. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We'll catch you all in the next episode. See you later.